Thereupon came Angra Ma'enu, who is all death, and he countercreated by his witchcraft sinful lusts. 21. The fourth of the good lands and the countries which I, Ahura Mazda, created was the beautiful Bakthe, with high lifted banners. Bactra, Balk. Thereupon came Angra Ma'enu, who is all death, and he counter-created by his witchcraft the Brathara, the corn-carrying ants. 25. The fifth of the good lands and countries which I, Ahura Mazda, created was Nasaya, that lies between Mount Mo'uru and Bakthe. There were several towns with this name, but none between Mo'uru and Bakthe, but the sentence may be translated also Nasaya, between which and Bakthe Mo'uru lies, which would point to Nisaya, the capital of Parthia. Nisa. Thereupon came Angra Ma'enu, who is all death, and he countercreated by his witchcraft the sin of unbelief. One must believe in the law and have no doubt whatever about it in the heart, and firmly believe that the good and right law that Ormazd sent to the world is the same law that was brought to us by Zardusht. That's what Sadar 1 says. And, let's remember that maybe, not everything that's claimed about that is the actual law brought by Zardusht or any other prophet figure for that matter. 29. The sixth of the good lands and countries which I, Ahura Mazda, created was Haroyu with its lake, Haraiva, Araya, the basis of the Hari River, or Herat. Thereupon came Angra Ma'enu, who is all death, and he countercreated by his witchcraft the stained mosquito. 33. The seventh of the good lands and countries which I, Ahura Mazda, created was Kereta, of the evil shadows. Kapul. Thereupon came Angra Ma'enu, who was all death, and he countercreated by his witchcraft the Pa Erika Knatha Ete, who clave unto Kerasaspa. 37. The eighth of the good lands and the countries which I, Ahura Mazda, created was Urva of the rich pastures, according to Asptuz in Khorasan, more probably the land around Ispahan. Thereupon came Angra Ma'enu, who is all death, and he countercorrected by his witchcraft the sin of pride. 41. The ninth of the good lands and countries which I, Ahura Mazda, created was Knenta and Veherkana. Orkana, Hyrcania, Knenta is a river in Veherkana. Consequently, the river Gorgon. And instead of sinful pride, we might say tyranny. Thereupon came Engra Ma'enyu, who was all death, and encounter created by his witchcraft, a sin for which there is no atonement, the unnatural sin. 45. The 10th of the good lands and countries which I, Ahura created, was the beautiful Hara Va'ete. Hara Va'ete, Arak Otas, Harut. Thereupon came Engra Ma'enyu, who was all death, and encounter created by his witchcraft, a sin for which there is no atonement, the burying of the dead. 49. The 11th of the good lands and countries which I, Ahura created, was the bright and glorious Ha'etumant. The basin of Etumandras, or Eraimanthus, is now Helmand. Thereupon came Engra Ma'enyu, who was all death, and encounter created by his witchcraft, the evil witchcraft of the Yatus. The wizards. 53. And this is how the Yatus, nature, shows itself. It shows itself by the look. And then, whenever the wizard goes and howls forth his spells, most deadly works of witchcraft go forth. Interesting how the Goetia is thought some to mean that's, a howling. We have Goas as a Greek word here. And we have the look, referring to the evil eye, and then the Vendidad. Then they came forth to kill, and a strike to the heart. And that gloss cites productions of the wizard, Ice, Snow, and Hail. That gloss seems to belong to the corrupt Zend sentence that follows. And that May they increase the plague of locusts. 59. The 12th of the good lands and countries which I, Ahura created, was Raga of the three races. Thereupon came Engra Ma'enyu, who was all death, and encounter created by his witchcraft the sin of utter disbelief. They doubt themselves and cause other people to cause doubt. 63. The 3rd of the good lands and countries which I, Ahura created, was the strong and holy Kakra. It's unknown land, might be China, which is certainly wrong. There is a town of that name in Khorasan, Kark. Okay. Thereupon came Engra Ma'enyu, who was all death, and encounter created by his witchcraft the sin for which there is no atonement, the burning of corpses. 67. The 14th of the good lands and countries which I, Ahura created, was the four-cornered arena, of which was born Thra Eta Anna, who smote Aziz Dahaka. Thereupon came Engra Ma'enyu, who was all death, and encounter created by his witchcraft abnormal issues in women, and the oppression of foreign rulers. Possibly an allusion to Aziz Dahaka, Zohak. Well, wait. Oh, the end of it is an allusion to the earlier part of verse 18 here, who as a king represents the foreign conqueror. Later tradition has Tazi, or Arab, and it might be a possible connection to the Assyrians, actually. because as you see, these are very broad terms for everywhere in the world, really. 72. The 15th of the good lands and countries which I, Ahurmazda, created was the 7 rivers, the basin of the modern Punjab. Thereupon came Angra Mainyu, who was all death, and he countercreated by his witchcraft abnormal issues in women and excessive heat. 76. The 16th of the good lands and countries which I, Ahurmazda, created was the land by the floods of the Ranga, where people live without a head. And Ranga is Arvastan e Rum, the Roman Mesopotamia. And without a head is interpreted as a figurative sense, meaning people who do not hold the chief for a chief, which is the translation for Asra Osha, rebel against the law, and it would well imply the Sassanian ages to the non-Mazdian people of Vastan Erum. I think we must adopt the literal meaning and recognize in this passage the source, or at least the oldest form of those tales about people without a head, with eyes on their shoulders, which Pliny received from the half-Persian Caduceus. Persian geographers mention such people. They place them in the Oriental islands near China, whence they send ambassadors to the Khan of the Tatars. The mythical origin of those tales may be traced in Indian and Greek mythology. Thereupon came Angra Mainyu, who was all death, and he countercreated by his witchcraft winter, a work of the Devas, Vendidad Sada, and the oppression of the land that comes from the Taoza. So how the Arabs, or that part, relates to the north, I have to see that more etymologically right. 81. There are still other lands and countries, beautiful and deep, desirable and bright, and thriving.